Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming on to another one of our live events. I am Michelle O'Connor, your business growth advisor, and my role is to help you as a solo medical practice owner to develop the strategies you need so that your practice can grow with ease without requiring more of your time and more of your efforts. So today we're going to be talking about a topic that I've been discussing with a few owners, and that's around compensation and most importantly, bonus payments. So if you or you know someone who owns a practice and they're struggling with how do I reward my team outside of their basic salary, this is a life for you. Because the thing is, there are so many ways that has been used in larger organizations, and compensation by money is not the only way. And those are some of the things we're going to be talking about. So I want to know who is on. I want to know where you're joining from. So go ahead and utilize the chat. Let me know you're there. As you know, we're in this virtual world, and there are times when we feel like we're talking to ourselves, to be honest. And so having you communicate using the chat, it really helps. So another way that you can connect with me is if it is that you want to, at any point in time, continue the conversation. I'm dropping my link in the chat. You can go ahead and schedule your call and we can have a conversation. So let's jump into it. When you talk about bonus payments, I really encourage persons to listen to their employees, listen to what they have to say. You're in a room and persons are saying, I don't want money. Somebody else is saying, I want money. But because as the person probably who controls the purse, or you know what the spend is, or you don't have the time to think through what other options are possible, you take a stance. This is what we're doing. I encourage persons to listen to your employees, listen to what they're saying, listen to some of the ideas that they have, because it's almost like when you're in a relationship, you're giving the person what they're asking for instead of giving them what you feel. It's almost like just like your practice. When a patient comes in and they sometimes would have diagnosed themselves because they probably use the internet to look for their symptoms. They're coming to tell you what it is that's happening to them. You know what's best. So in that case, you'd be the employee, like, listen, this is what is happening to me. You diagnose them and you prescribe a solution. If the employees are saying to you, this is how I feel, this is what I want, I really do encourage you to listen to them. So if you have that experience where you're in that room and persons are trying to wonder, how do we compensate? I really want you to listen to your employees. The next thing I want you to consider is that the traditional way of doing things changes with generation. And the generation now, they're more vocal. They're in for the no. So if they do something, reward me right now and let's go. I'm not always going to be here. I'm not into long service all the time. So you get the opportunity now to think of creative ways of doing things. So pulling them to the table. So when you think of making a bonus payment, ask them what is it that you would want, what is it that will matter to you. And when you think about how things and times are changing, maybe things that you may have wanted when you were an employee, they don't want it. So listen and think about how things are changing, and we're going to be touching on a few of those as we go along in our life. The other thing, different things matter to different people. And this is one of the things I encourage everybody to do, and it is free. Find out what the love language is for your team. When you know what their love language is, then you're able to treat them that way and they receive it as you loving them. So if you've never been exposed to the 5 love languages, you can Google it online. There are free assessments for your team. If you're in a relationship, you name it. But find out what the team love language is. That makes life so much easier. I did it when I was in corporate. We did it for our team, and it was revolutionary when you think about how simple you could think about something simple that people can receive, and you're over here working up yourself trying to figure out the numbers. Find out what their love languages are, and so I'm going to touch on them. So you have Quality time, and I'm going to give you examples as well as to what you can do. And if you're joining, watching the replay, remember, comment, let me know where you're joining from. If this is your first time, thank you for coming on. So, quality time. If you have an employee where their love language is quality time, when you do the assessment, one of the things you could do is give them a gift certificate for them and somebody they love. That way, they're like, "Oh my God, can you imagine? My boss gave me this." I remember when one of the reward that we received at my previous company was a trip, a weekend at a hotel at a resort. I'm from Jamaica, so this was right by the sea. It was just fabulous. And the thing is, what that does for you, you take pictures with your family. You know, you have so much fun. The entire family is a part of it. You have those pictures to look back at. So when you're thinking of, and yes, this may cost, but I'm going to talk to how it is that you can also do it where it doesn't cost. So those are some of the things when you create experiences for people that also matters. So it's not just, I'm going to give you the money in your account, I'm going to add it to your salary, and we move on with life. Use that money as well to create an experience, and you never can tell. You can get a package from a restaurant or a hotel, or you name it. There are creative ways to do it. So that's one of the love language, quality time. This one for me, I was smiling because when I saw it, when I remembered it, because I'm like, as an employee, maybe physical touch is not something that you may want to take on because there are legal consequences for that. However, it could be that if physical touch is something for them, think of a gift that you can give them with their family or with somebody that they love, where they could experience that. And you can be creative, and you can do surveys and ask your people. I say this a lot, even when it comes on to your clients. Ask your clients what they want. Ask them what are their greatest struggles, and meet them there. Don't go with a prescribed template or a prescribed way of doing things. Find out from them what it is that they want. So, receiving gifts. If your employees love receiving gifts, give them a gift, and a gift can be anything. So I went to a networking event last night, and out of the blues, one of the things that we got was this gift from a cycle bar that's opening in our area, and they gave us water bottles with some sugar, candy. This was just great. I'm like, even if I never plan to go, I probably need to at least register for one. So think about those things, and it can be a write-off, expense, you name it. We can get into that another time, but we're just talking about the bonus payments for today. So receiving gifts and acts of service. So those are the 5. Go ahead, Google, remember, love languages. You can do it for your team. Find out what their love languages are and meet them there. So let's talk about some of the rewards now that you can take on that may not cost you a lot. One of the things I want you to think about is your reward can be continuous. So sometimes we tend to wait on the holiday season at the end of the year. We want to wait until the end of the quarter, you name it. But one of the things you can think of is, how can I make rewarding my employees continuous? It could be employee of the month. You have a plaque on the wall. You put their name and their pictures there. I experienced that. And let me tell you, at the end of the quarter, everybody was just, my name has to be there. What's a criteria for me to get my name there? That is a one-time cost, because all it's costing you is money for the plaque, and then you're just inserting the names at the end of the quarter. No persons feel like they're being recognized, they're valued. Oh, I'm not just sitting down and waiting until the end of the quarter to assess your performance, or the end of the year to see how the business has performed, and then I pay you. I am now looking on how you have been performing day by day, and I'm rewarding you accordingly. That doesn't cost you. So it can be continuous. The act of buying cards. So you can buy a stack of thank you cards, and in the moment where something happens, some random act of kindness, you can write a note. You were great today. Thank you, and place that on your employee's desk. I saw that you came in today. You probably never had a smile, not sure what's happening, and you put a word of encouragement. What that means for that person, you may never know. it's more than money. Maybe they're going through a challenging time, but make this a continuous thing. It could be acts of kindness Mondays, or choose a day in the week where you're rewarding persons for that. That's not costing you. So that way it is continuous. You're doing it all the time. So now at the end of the year, when they get the bonus, it's like, oh my God, this is like the cherry on top if you're able to afford it. Or, like has happened in the past for several companies, you may not have performed the way you wanted to perform. And so you're not able to make that monetary reward. But because you were doing these continuous rewards throughout the year, yes, there might be disappointment, but even though there was disappointment, they still have something to remember that you did for them. So remember, we're talking about continuous ways of rewarding your employees. So the next thing I want you to think of, I was doing some research like years ago, and I saw this, and I was like, sometimes we don't think it matters. One of the resorts in Jamaica, one of the things that they do in rewarding their employees is that they give them reserve parking. So people are driving way more, and most of my clients, they talk about this in terms of cost for parking. So you have done something, whether you've been punctual. Listen, the challenges you have in your practice have a reward tied to it. So if somebody is continuously late, what you can do is, if somebody is early 5 days or 2 weeks, you get a reserve parking space, just as an example, if those things are challenging. So that's one of the things that a company does. So you can think of that. You are going to be parking next to the boss for the next month, if that matters. So you would need to think through how it relates to your practice, but it is possible that this could be something that's a challenge. And here's how I'm going to fix it. You don't have to come to work and try and figure out where you're going to park. We're going to fix that for you. So we spoke about the personalized acknowledgements. Write those cards, write those notes when it's their birthdays. If you have a birthday acknowledgement or birthday club, I don't know what you would call it, ensure that you maintain it. And this is how knowing what the love language of your team members are helps you, because you're giving them something that matters to them. If you sit and you overhear, an employee talking about something that they really, really love, imagine if you did that for them. One of the things that I did when I was in charge of the birthday club at some point in time, it was those personalized things, ensuring that the decoration is in the person's favorite color, having a song that that they love. Those things matter to people, and it's not costing you money, right? Or it's not costing you as much, because yes, in the birthday club you're coming out of pocket, but you're not just leaving it until the end of the year. So those handwritten notes. Another thing you can consider is flexi work hours. So if persons have worked very hard, maybe you launched a new service, or you had a special offer and you had an influx of patients, and persons have been working overtime, working extended hours, reducing their lunchtime. Consider how it is that you can reward them. And it could be, guess what? Take Fridays off for the next 2 weeks, or maybe you're coming in, instead of coming in from 9 to 5, you can come in from 10 to 6, you name it. And you can create it based on the needs of your people, but you need to know your people, right? So if you're joining, go ahead, drop something in the chat to let me know that you are here. Drop something in the chat, say bonus. Let's use that word because we're talking about that today. So I know you're on, if it's making sense to you. Michelle, yes, I'm struggling with this. And also, if you have any questions, I want you to also leave those questions in the drop it in the comments, so we can always get back to it at the end. So we just touched on flexi work hours, just making sure that you're considering that as an option. And that's really if it is possible for your practice. So remember, you're looking on, can I really afford this? Can I structure the team I have around the time that they're coming in, so that the service that I offer is not impacted? Consider that as well. Personalized development opportunities is something else. Not all of them are paid for, but sometimes what happens, and I've also seen this, where when you're asking employees to do these courses in their personal time, they feel like you're still asking them to work outside of working hours. And one of the things you can do is, say you're supposed to start working at 9, let's do this between 10 and 11. So you're still in the working hours. And you can also look for courses that they can attend. There are lots of free courses. Maybe you can decide on a paid course. That's an expense for your business as well. So look at how it is that you can do that. And when you take the time to find something that matters for your employees, it goes a long way. Sometimes we overlook it. You know that maybe customer service training is needed. You go and figure out your customer service training and come and tell me. It matters to your employee if you take the time and find something for them. So it's not, yes, you want them to grow and you want them to develop and you want ownership. But remember, we're talking about how you can consider rewarding your employees without paying out of pocket, and just doing that act can go a far way for them. So remember, personal development opportunities. Team building activities is another thing that we tend to overlook. I was doing some work for a client, and one of the things I normally do is I normally do a survey with the employees to get their side of the story. Not just taking the CEOs, but get their side of the story. And one of the things that one of the persons said to me, well, a few of them actually brought it up, was that yes, we get money, and we're appreciative of it, but based on our schedule, we don't have a lot of time, especially on weekends. And if your practice opens on a weekend, we don't have a lot of time to go places and have fun with our family. And maybe, you're not being compensated that well, or you're not earning as much. So you may use some of your time to work for somebody else. And what the person said to me was, we would really appreciate it if our boss booked a hotel and we even stayed for one night. So you may be using the money to, okay, let me just pay them. But they're saying, hey, let's come together, let's sit, let's eat, let's laugh, let's play games, let's have a drink, you name it. So team building activities is a great way of rewarding your team. You can divide your money equally, but if you pull those funds together and find somewhere for them to go and create an experience about it, it goes a long, long way. And so some of the challenges that you may be having inside your practice, if you are having challenges, can be rectified by team building activities, coming closer together, taking the time to spend time with them. So you don't just see them as an employee, or you don't just see them as an employee number, but you see them as someone who is a part of your family, and you want to reward them accordingly. So think about ways that you could enhance experiences for your team. Trust me, as someone who has been on a few, it creates a bond that sometimes you can't explain, and you have pictures and memories for a lifetime. Not that it eliminates all the challenges that you may have, but it goes a long way. Spoke about employee of the month already. That was one of the other things I wanted to share. People like to know that you're picking them up. And maybe not everybody, because remember we spoke about, knowing what their love languages were. So if you are in your practice and you're struggling with, where am I going to find the money to pay people? These are some of the things that you can consider. So I'm checking the chat. Let me know if you have any questions that you would want me to respond to. While I wait, I will just go through. One of the ones that I get from persons is, we agreed on what the reward would have been, and here we are now at the end of the year, and persons are still not happy. I just don't know what to do anymore. Things can change for persons, and it's about conversation. So if at the beginning of the year you had agreed that we're going to be paying you X amount at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year, and you're not happy with it, what has happened? Because we agreed on this and we have a conversation. Go through and have a conversation with them. One of the things as well, because I tell you, whenever I work with clients, I always ensure that I speak to the team to get what's happening for them. Because I know from experience, management and what management thinks sometimes is up in the cloud, and the team members are, they have a different experience, and those experiences sometimes don't intertwine. So I'm having the conversation with the team about, so the CEO believe that they're doing what they promised, this is what they agreed to, and the team is saying that management is not keeping their word. There was two simple things. One, birthday acknowledgements were not being consistent, and also they said that team meetings, which we were promised that we would have, were not being held. It matters to them because what it shows is that you're breaking your word. So find out from them when they are saying, this is what we agreed to, but we're changing. Something has happened in the year that you're missing. So you want to have that conversation and find out from them what's happening. Another thing is, you may plan a team building activity and persons are saying, it's boring. Chances are we didn't ask them what it is that they like to do, or we didn't take feedback. And the feedback doesn't have to be, oh, I'm doing a survey. No, you went on an excursion, you planned a team building activity, there were no smiles, people never seemed happy. When you went back to work the Monday, there was nothing there. There was nothing more enlightening for me, when I led the we call it the social activity club, with another team member. Both of us were the leaders of that. There was nothing more enlightening than they're like, when you come back to work the Monday, and it's almost like half of the day you're talking about all the things that happened because they were just so excited. Or we say we're planning an event and it's a surprise, and they're like, listen, I trust my social activity club. I don't need to know what the plans are. We're just going ahead and we're trusting them. Or there was something that we did every Christmas, we'd call it potluck, and they looked forward to it because we spice it up a little bit. And that is it. Find out what your team wants. Sometimes they're working very hard and you don't have the time to lift your head above the water and figure it out. But remember, these are just some of the things that you can do. As I wrap up, just looking if I see any questions. Find out what their love languages are. There are random acts of kindness, writing personalized cards, leaving those on their desk, looking out for things that happen and reward them in the moment. You can think of employee of the month. Persons probably like to see their names on a plaque. The employee of the month, when patients walk in, they're talking to the person who is the top performer. You name it. Think about personalized development and offer them a time to go and take advantage of that. Also, we spoke about flexi work hours. We spoke about maybe giving them a reserved parking space. Those are just a few. But get to know your team, get to know what it is that they like, and go ahead and figure out how you can not only think of giving them money at the end of a period, but also giving them an experience and giving them something that they will be able to look on and it will last forever. So I hope this helped. If you're watching the replay, I'm Michelle O'Connor. I dropped my link in the chat if you want to connect with me after, and leave a comment and let me know, how it is that you reward your team so we can share it with others and persons can also benefit. Thanks again for coming on, and I'll see you again next week.